Hello and welcome back to Kin in Line. I make this part 103. So this was Mike Saluma, who was also, like me, a foreign correspondent, but working for the Argus Group, who were on the same floor as us in Hatton Garden in London in the early 90s. So I sketched Mike on one of our numerous art stories that were jointly covering. The Argus was basically in opposition to us, but I mean, we got on with their people quite well. Excuse me. One of my most grueling things I had to cover was the Harams Commission of Inquiry into the hit squads of the late 80s. So this was held in South Africa House. Dirk Coetzee was a security policeman who had turned whistleblower, really, and joined up with the ANC. Anyway, before I went in each morning, I used to hang around on Trafalgar Square, which is where I sketched this guy with his briefcase on his knees, waiting to go somewhere. Quite a weird face. Now this just slipped in, but this was my press card from the Foreign Press Association. That got me into Downing Street, right outside number 10 at one point. So this, just living, working near the Thames, I mean, I was often just drawn to it, and I did the odd sketch. Here we got a boat of some sort moored up against the wall there. Yeah, yet again, just a figure, somebody in my sight at some point. And I think this was Thatcher. I probably did it off the TV. I don't think I ever saw her. She didn't even come out when I went to Downing Street. She had just had a meeting with Buthelezi. And Buthelezi came out and addressed the media, but Thatcher didn't. Of course, it was while I was there that Thatcher was ousted and replaced by John Major as leader of the party and as Prime Minister. And this guy was one of the stalking horses. I can't remember his name, but his nickname was Tarzan. So this again was just drawn from a picture. I think this old chap must have come into the office. I say old, he's about my age, current age, I suppose, 60s. But yeah, somebody with his glasses in his mouth. That's what people do, eh? Not really. It didn't really materialize into anything. Who knows who this guy was? I don't recall. I think this was from Life, so almost definitely from Life. And this is John Major, who I didn't meet, but I attended a few briefings that he addressed during these it wasn't EU yet, it was the European EEC, European Economic Community at that point. I think they became the EU later in the 90s. And so this is also from a photograph, and it's got a kind of spitting image, which was a comedy, satire, really. of the political situation by the BBC, which of course isn't done anymore. They don't about whether they satirize. So we're going to venture into some things here. Patsy Robertson was a West Indian who was, I think, with the Commonwealth Office. So yeah, it's amazing how many characters I encountered there. This fellow, the colonial look. Okay, go get them. There's rifles loaded. Henry Russell Smith. There's that Nad Pillay guy I mentioned in the previous video. It was while I was in that London office that I discovered some of the more bizarre pronunciations. There's Mendium Simang, Nad Pillay, Governor Becky, Tabo. That was why I kept it for this story. Yeah, one of the pronunciations was this name, St. John. I mean, you don't get more sort of posh than Saint John, pronounced St. John. Yeah, mad again. I just kept it for this little flying figure. I'm interested to see these slugs, is what we used to call them, because we used to have to send stories from the Daily Telegraph, because we had lifting rights on their copy, and so I would, on a Sunday in particular, I think Ian Hobbs used to do it during the week, but on a Sunday, part of our job was to pick up the Sunday Telegraph stories off their system. We had access to the system. Don't ask me how I ever managed it, because I'm useless at technical stuff. Anyway, we used to be able to go into their baskets and pick up the stories and send them through electronically, which back then in 1991 was quite a feat, I think. It wasn't simply like emailing. In fact, our normal recourse, because we had lifting rights on a couple of papers, what we do is just photocopy them and then fax them through. See if anybody wanted to use them, they could. It was usually the business stuff. I think we had lifting rights off the, it was probably the Telegraph as well. Here's Samram Sami, I think. Yeah, he's a prominent name in the sports world. Even post 94, he was in the South African Olympic Committee. Peter Bean, that rings a bell. I think he was a spokesman for Thatcher or Major. And I just kept it for that little drawing. Yeah, we sort of followed the news closely. News at 1. Terre Blanche, Eugene, was still a threat back then. The Afrikaner Weerstandsbeweging character. And he's a little rat or something trying to attack him. It's quite a nice piece of doodle art. Yeah, that'll be my next painting, 16 feet by 30 feet. The bigger you can do it, the sort of more valuable it becomes. That's based on Andy Warhol's art. Weird. There's a couple of nice doodle art works. Yeah, so this is I haven't really looked at these pages since 1990, 91, whenever it was I came back. Some of them were, the drawings are so small, they barely were worth keeping, but you know what, if I convert these into paintings, they will become valuable artifacts. Corin Talbot, that rings a bell. She led the anti-apartheid movement campaign against the Mike Gatting cricket tour of South Africa. She was quite an outspoken activist. In those days, I was very much on the side of the ANC and the anti-apartheid struggle, so got on well with these people. Thatcher Mandela, it's interesting. 3 hour, 10 minutes meeting. Mrs. Thatcher shook hands, so I think I was there. I think she greeted him outside Downing Street and then he maybe addressed the media and she went back inside or something. I've got enough of these little things. I'm going to leave it now with this crocodile catching this fish. And till next time, cheers.